The dean was halfway through announcing the awards when he stopped, looked directly at me, and said, "Our valedictorian this year is." My mother suddenly grabbed my sister's hand. Then the dean said my name. For a few seconds, I couldn't move. My parents had paid every dollar of my sister's college tuition while telling me I wasn't worth the investment. Now the entire university was standing and applauding the daughter they had almost given up on. My name is Claire Morgan, and for most of my life, I felt like the second daughter in my own family. My sister, Madison, was 22, 2 years younger than me, and she had always been the favorite. She was outgoing, confident, and knew exactly how to get what she wanted. I was quieter. I loved books. I loved numbers. And from the time I was 14, I dreamed of becoming an engineer. My father, Robert, owned a small construction company. My mother, Diane, managed the office. They weren't rich, but we were comfortable. At least, that's what I thought. Everything changed during my senior year of high school. One evening, I came downstairs and heard my parents talking. "We can't afford both girls," Dad said. My heart stopped. Mom sighed. "Madison already has the acceptance letter." I froze at the top of the stairs. Dad continued. "She's going to State University. We'll cover everything." I waited. I don't know what I expected. Maybe he would say they would help me too. Instead, Mom said quietly, "Claire can figure something out." I walked downstairs. "Figure what out?" They both went silent. Dad looked uncomfortable. "College." I stared at him. "You're paying for Madison?" Mom answered. "She has a better chance of getting a good career." I felt like someone had punched me. I got into engineering school too. Dad shook his head. "That's expensive. So is Madison's school. She deserves the support." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Why?" Mom looked at me. "Because she's more social. She's more likely to succeed." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I have higher grades than her." Dad sighed. "Grades aren't everything." I went upstairs without another word. That night, I cried into my pillow so quietly that nobody heard me. But the next morning, something inside me changed. If they weren't going to pay for my education, I would find another way. I applied for scholarships. I worked at a grocery store after school. I tutored younger students on weekends. I filled out so many financial aid forms that my fingers hurt. Meanwhile, Madison went shopping for her dorm room. My parents bought her a laptop. They bought her furniture. They even helped her buy a used car. One afternoon, I came home from work and saw the car sitting in the driveway. I looked at Dad. "Where did that come from?" "For Madison." I laughed bitterly. "Of course." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "Nothing." But it wasn't nothing. It was everything. My acceptance letter arrived 2 weeks later. I had received a scholarship covering most of my tuition. I didn't tell my parents immediately. I wanted to see if they would ask. They didn't. That hurt more than I expected. I eventually told them. Dad nodded. "Good." Mom smiled. "See? You always find a way." I stared at her. "You mean I always have to?" She didn't answer. I left for college that fall with 2 suitcases, a part-time job, and a scholarship. Madison left with a paid apartment, a new laptop, and a car. Our parents drove her to campus. They helped unpack her room. They took pictures. When it was my turn to leave, Dad handed me $20. "Call if you need anything." I looked at the bill. Then at him. "I'll manage." And I did. The first year was brutal. I worked mornings. Classes during the day. Tutoring at night. There were weeks when I lived on instant noodles. But something unexpected happened. I became good at what I was studying. Really good. My professors noticed. One professor, Dr. Helen Carter, asked me to stay after class. You have a gift for problem solving, she told me. I laughed. My parents would disagree. She looked at me carefully. Don't let other people's opinions become your ceiling. I remembered those words. And I kept going. Meanwhile, Madison's life looked perfect on social media. Parties. Trips. Expensive dinners. My mother constantly posted pictures. My beautiful daughter living her best life. I never appeared in those posts. Not once. Then, during my second year, something changed. Madison called me crying. I failed 2 classes. I was shocked. What happened? I don't know. I listened for nearly an hour. Then she said something that made me angry. Mom and Dad said if I don't pass next semester, they'll stop paying. I stared at my wall. You've got to be kidding me. Claire, please. What do you want me to do? I need your notes. I almost laughed. She wanted my help after years of treating me like the daughter who wasn't worth investing in. Still, I sent her my notes. I didn't do it for her. I did it because I didn't want to become bitter. But that wasn't the last time Madison would need something from me. During my 3rd year, I received an email from Dr. Carter. She wanted me to apply for a national engineering competition. The winner would receive a full graduate scholarship. I applied. And I won. The prize changed everything. Suddenly, I could stop working 2 jobs. I could focus entirely on school. My parents didn't even know. Then came the strangest phone call. It was my father. Claire, your sister needs some help. I closed my eyes. How much? $8,000. I laughed. You're asking me for $8,000? She has tuition problems. You've paid her tuition for 3 years. Dad became angry. She's your sister. I took a breath. So am I. Silence. Then he said, don't be selfish. I hung up. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. A few months later, I received another surprise. Madison had dropped out. She had lost her scholarship eligibility after failing too many classes. My parents were furious. Mom called me. You should have helped her more. I couldn't believe it. I gave her my notes. You could have done more. No, Mom. My voice shook. I've spent my entire life doing more. She hung up. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. My final semester arrived. I was exhausted. But I had one goal. Graduate at the top of my class. I didn't tell my parents about my grades. I didn't need their approval anymore. Then graduation day arrived. The university auditorium was packed. Students sat with their families. My parents were there. Not because of me. Madison had convinced them to attend. They sat near the front. I sat backstage wearing my graduation gown. My hands were shaking. Dr. Carter walked over. You ready? I think so. She smiled. You've been ready for years. Then the dean stepped onto the stage. He began announcing academic honors. My heart started racing. One award after another. Then he paused. Our final honor is the highest academic distinction awarded by this university. The room became quiet. The student graduating with the highest overall academic record. I heard my mother's voice behind me. Imagine if Madison had stayed. Then the dean said, Claire Morgan. For a moment, I didn't move. Then the auditorium exploded with applause. I walked onto the stage. My legs felt weak. Dr. Carter was crying. The dean shook my hand. Congratulations, Claire. I looked toward my parents. My father was standing. My mother wasn't. She was staring at me with a strange expression. Not pride. Shock. After the ceremony, Dad approached me. Claire. I waited. He looked around. I didn't know you were doing this well. I smiled sadly. You never asked. He looked down. Then came the twist I never expected. Dr. Carter walked over. Mr. Morgan, may I speak with you? Dad looked confused. Dr. Carter handed him a letter. This is Claire's graduate fellowship offer. Dad read it. His eyes widened. It was a prestigious engineering program. Full tuition. Research funding. And a guaranteed position after graduation. My father looked at me. Why didn't you tell us? I answered honestly. Because you never wanted to know. He flinched. Then my mother finally walked over. She looked at the certificate in my hand. You really became valedictorian? I nodded. She looked embarrassed. Then she whispered something I will never forget. I thought you needed us. I smiled. I did. She looked at me. For a long time. Then I walked away. But the biggest surprise came 3 months later. My first engineering project was selected for funding by a major development company. The company was owned by someone my father knew. He called me. Claire, they want you to lead the project. I couldn't believe it. Dad sounded proud. For the first time in my life, he told me. I should have believed in you. I didn't know what to say. Finally, I answered. You could have. There was silence. Then he said, I'm sorry. I believed he meant it. But forgiveness didn't mean pretending nothing happened. I still loved my family. I just stopped measuring my worth by how much they valued me. Madison eventually returned to school through a different program. She apologized to me too. Not because she wanted my notes. Not because she needed money. She simply said, I was jealous of you. I asked why. Because you didn't need anyone to tell you that you were good enough. That stayed with me. Years later, I still have the photograph from graduation. My parents are standing in the background. I am holding my valedictorian medal. For years, I thought that picture represented the moment I finally proved them wrong. But now I see it differently. I wasn't proving anything to them. I was proving something to myself. My parents paid for my sister's college. They told me to figure my own life out. So I did. And when the dean called my name as valedictorian, I finally understood something. Sometimes rejection isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the moment you stop waiting for someone else to open the door. And when you build your own way through it, the applause feels different. Because this time, you know you earned every single clap.